This particular session, we're going to be looking at events particularly in the church, and how to manage that during this current kind of global situation, and how infoodle can help you with managing all of your different events. So we're going to be looking at adding events, attendance for different events. We're going to be looking at contact tracing and looking at rostering those particular events. This year has been really a difficult year, probably for many of you. It's been a bit of a roller coaster for many of us. We've been locked in, we've been in lockdown. We have had to limit the number of people that we can have coming to our different events, and they've fluctuated up and down during the year. Some of you may have chosen to go to 2 services, but then having to limit the number of people that can come to those and having to do registrations. We're going to show how you can do that with infoodle. Others of you are now even busier than what you ever have been, but others perhaps things may have slowed down a little bit for you. So let's start by looking at creating an event. We're going to be having some new alpha courses, starting a new alpha course this year. So let's use that as our example. So first of all, you go to your event page in your system, found on the navigation bar here. We're clicking on events, and we're going to add an event. We know when that's going to run. So click on an event here, and we add the title. So it's alpha. Okay, we can have a color code for that if we want to. So we'll do that one. It's a class. It's confirmed. It's definitely happening. And it may be that you want to have this visible on the internet, which will be on your web page. You can sync your infoodle calendar up with your Google Calendar, which is then shown in your web page, on your website. You can put more details in here in the description as to what the actual event is about, which will also be shown if people then hover over that particular date. We also then need to add the dates. So the date we're going to start this, so we'll start it in November, give ourselves a little bit of time. It'll be running on Tuesdays. It's going to, we're needing to do some room setup first before we actually start. So let's say at 3 o'clock people can come to prepare, but then the event itself isn't going to start until 6:30. Let's find where 6:30 is. Here we are. It's going to finish at 9, but the clean up and pack down needs to happen after that. So the room will be available again, say from 10 o'clock. It's also going to repeat. This is going to happen every week, and we then set the end date as to when that's going to be. So it's going to finish in December, let's say the 15th of December. Where is this event going to be? This course is going to be, we've already set up some locations in the system here. So let's put this into classroom A is where we're going to have it. And the people involved are going to be staff who are going to be looking after this particular event. So we use them, and the attendees will be people who are in a particular group. So I may already have created an alpha group, so everybody who's part of alpha course is able to be a part of that group. Okay. So if these people have a login into infoodle, they will be able to see this particular event on their calendar in infoodle. We have some questions. Questions here is if your other people are hiring, say your facilities, you can add in a cost in that, or you can add other questions in here as to whether or not somebody needs sound or lighting for your event, whether they also need to have the kitchen because they're going to be doing catering. Do they need to have access to a risk assessment form? These can also be added in here. A notification can be set so that when the person makes that booking, automatically an email will go to the person who's responsible for that, so they will know that somebody needs to have sound or lighting for that particular event. So let's save this event now. I haven't answered the question, so I need to click, we'll go no in this case. And we now have our event is in the calendar. Where are we gone to December? We've gone, here we are. Here's our alpha course in down here. Okay, so now that we've entered our event, we are wanting to get people to register for this event. So we can do this through a form, but we want to add people into a group automatically from that form. So we need to create a group, and we go to groups here and you click on add a group. And I think in order to save time, I've already created an alpha course group here, so that then we can use this particular group. So far it's just me that's added into this group. But if I was going to create one from new, it would look a little bit like this. You enter in the name, the group type, which is another way of saying a category of groups, so it lists all of the similar groups together. And a little bit more detail about that group, whether or not you're wanting to assign notes to a particular group so that people who are in a particular group can see that note, or tasks to a group. We're not going to do that for this case, so therefore we're just going to leave that blank. And we've got this on a Tuesday evening as to when this is going to be. So we're just going to save this now, and this is our group that we have created. The next thing we want to do is go to our forms, because we're going to create a registration form. Again, just in order to save some time, I've already created a form. So we just click on the edit of that form, and you can see that I have been able to add in an image. We've given it a title. Creating a form is really easy. You just drag in the different things that you need from the navigation down here and pull it into the form. So we've added the heading into there, and then we just give that a heading. Just to show you as to how you do that, you would just drag it and drop it in like that. Then put in the actual title in here as to what you're actually wanting to call this particular field. You don't like it, then you just click on the bin and it will go away. So this particular event, we've made it as or this form I should say, we've made that as you can add more than one person to the same form. Perhaps it's one or two people from the same household who are wanting to come and join this particular course. So we've made some mandatory fields in here, which you can see with the asterisks, and others are not. We've entered in a custom field for food allergies, so that it's important that we know if anybody has any food allergies, because we're providing a meal. And also this is then the group that people will automatically go into. However, on the live view of the form, this won't be visible. It will only be visible in the approval of the form that you can see, and I'll talk to you a little bit further about that later. But you can see that that is there and mandatory, because they have to go into that group. We also are going to be limiting the numbers that we have in this particular group, people who can attend, and so we've done that in this area here of the numbers that are available. And we've got this as a free event in here. So what we're also wanting to do once we have is set who is able to process this form and also who is notified. So if somebody then submits a form, we may want to notify somebody. Maybe it's going to be an individual person or somebody on staff. You can do that as a group, or you can have an individual that you would want to notify. So in this case, it's infoodle support that is going to be notified that somebody has registered. We also add in here is the message, like as soon as that form has been submitted on the screen, what message do you want to show to the user? So we've just said here, thank you, we have received your registration, you'll get a confirmation email shortly. And also you can add in here as to if there's anybody in particular that you want to process the forms. we've set the automated email response. So using some of the fields that are in the form, so we've got the username, so the double curly brackets here will show that we've got the first name from the form that is then was submitted, and a few details as to where it is, what time it is, that we've got into this email here. Okay. If you're wanting to publish this form, you can do so as a link in your email, sending out an email to everybody with an invitation. You then copy this code and use that in your link, or you can copy this wording as your link into your email. If you're wanting to have it on your website, this registration form, then you would copy this particular code here. I'm not very technical, don't know exactly how that works, but I'm sure you've got people in your organization that are technical and that are able to do that for you. Okay. So that is how you would create the form. We also have a check-in system that you can use. This is probably designed for bigger events where everybody can come in and actually check themselves in. It doesn't have to be manned, so people can just type in their name and check themselves in. It's dates time stamped, I should say, when people are checking in. There are other advantages for the check-in system because you can also print off a name label. On that label there can be other information like allergies or birthdays. This is particularly useful if you're doing food, but also if you're having a children's church and they're having a birthday, you know, kids, they like to have their birthdays remembered and be made to feel special. You are then able to run a report on all of the attendance, so either at the end of that event, or if you have a certain date that you need to track, or over a period of time, a month or 6 months, or even the end of the year, if you're needing to do some tracking on who has attended. You might like to see for pastoral purposes as to who's been attending and who has missed. In particular, if somebody's missed a whole series in a row, you might want to just kind of check it out and see the reason why. Let's actually have a quick look as to see how we can do that. So we'll go into the reports area and we have attendance here. I'm going to choose, just for the purposes of this, I'm going to just choose this particular group here and just go from a time period as to when I'm wanting to run this report from, and generate. So this now shows me all of the different sessions that we have had, the different weeks and how many attended, how many visitors there were in each of those sessions, and also we've got the detail of the individuals here. So you can tell if there's somebody who used to come on a regular basis, like here for example we've got Dan Carter who used to come regularly, but now all of a sudden he's been missing a few slots. So it might be good as the Clooneys as well, they seem to be missing. So you might want to just get on the phone or do a pastoral visit and just check that everything is going okay with them. But also obviously if you're needing to do a COVID trace, you've got all of the details here as well, and so that you're able to then get in touch with them if necessary. So another reason why we have groups in events is in order to roster everybody into that particular event. So let's go and look at rosters right now. On rosters, if you are creating a new roster, you click on the add here. In order to save time, I'm going to use a roster that I've already created. So I'm going to click on the action here and view this roster. So these are the different groups that I've added into this particular roster and given different positions for what's needed in that particular event. So we see we've got a few people already rostered on. If I'm needing to swap any of these people around, I can do so. I can click on infoodle support, for example, click on the swap, and I'm actually going to swap them with Ben Jeffrey. Just kind of swap them over. So that's really easy to do. Once we've got everybody all into the different slots that they need, we can send out an email with the, right, we can do that here, send out an email to everybody with including the roster so that they can see that. But also we're probably wanting to send out reminders before the event, and that's done in the settings, and just clicking on the settings here. And this is where we would put in the time of arrival for everybody. So I think in this case, actually we're looking at just individual groups. So currently at the moment, we were looking at the meal prep team. So the meal prep team are going to be coming earlier on in the day. They're going to be coming at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're just going to change that to 3 o'clock. They probably will be finished by 5 o'clock. So that's when they can leave at 5. The next thing is when do you want to send the reminder out? 2 days in advance. And what time do you want to have that sent out? You know, maybe we're going to send that out at 9 o'clock in the morning. What are we going to have in that reminder? Click on the view to edit. Obviously you would want to have you know, a subject on here is to Alpha Volunteer, and the details, so dear, and the person's name that you can put in here, which is the person's rostered name. It's here, and that goes there. So any of the other fields and any other information as to what time you're wanting them to be there, what time the event starts, various different things, you can put all of that into here, what they need to bring, and any job descriptions or expectations that you have can all go into this reminder email. Once you're happy with that, then you can save that email. So for in order the reminder to go out, it needs to be in a live state, and also you need to tick which particular communication you're wanting to have go out. So we created an email, but you could also send out a text as well, or instead, so you would just tick that there as well. If you want them to confirm to ensure that they have received that and that they are coming, and click on that little tick there as well, and then you would just save that. So that's a real quick overview of the rosters. There's a lot more that you can do with rosters. Unfortunately, we don't have time. You can go to our help system and view the training session on rosters that has all of the details in there that you need.